All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
Was good.
Episode 223 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTubing. I want to thank you so much for taking time to be with us. And this time, as we have ourselves a nice little show for you guys today, as we try to do each and every week, we try to pour out the quality for the viewing and listening audience out there, because we know there's a lot of other shows out there you could be choosing to listen and watch at this time, and you chose to hang out with us, so we take that very seriously, and we very much appreciate it. We very much appreciate you. Last week in episode 222, we had by far I think that was the most fun we've had interaction-wise with the viewing and listening audience. You guys were incredible. You guys kept pouring in the questions, pouring in the takes on our live chat, and we want to keep that ball rolling today if you guys would like to do that. And it's a very easy step in the process of making that happen. If you guys want to go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit the notification button, so every time we go live, you know we're going, and so that way you can roll right into our show. And then you guys hit that comment bar and hit it with whatever you guys got for us today, whether it is a question, whether it's a take, whether it's both. We don't care. All we care about is that you're a part of what we're doing here at the Spoken Podcast each and every week, and we would love nothing more than for you guys to participate in what we're talking about. You know what we primarily talk about on this show. It's a lot of football, a lot of Chiefs-related topics, but that should not stop you from bringing up whatever it is you guys want to bring up in the world of sports, because we know there's things going on. We know there's NBA free agency going on. We know there's some big UFC cards coming up. We know that F1's going on. Now, we might not be as educated on F1 and things outside of our jurisdiction, but those are things that we can definitely talk about, and you can feel free to chime in about. Like I said, we'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you guys are talking about, what you guys care about in the world of sports, and we can go with them there. Obviously, we're going to be handing out some L's in the show today, because we do that every single episode. We're going to continue to do that trend, because there are plenty of L's to give out there in the world of sports, and I promise you we won't disappoint you today as we try to do each and every week. But I want to start somewhere where I feel like I can't get out of it. Trevor, I feel like it's Groundhog's Day here. It's the Spoken Podcast.
Pretty much.
It's every single week now. We have news, we have comments, we have statements being made by players outside of the Chiefs organization towards the Chiefs organization that just continues to fuel the fire, not only with us here at the show to give us content to talk about and react to, but for the Chiefs to talk about and react to. And I don't know and I don't understand why we are still in a place where teams are still talking about the Chiefs and players are still going at the Chiefs and saying things about the Chiefs, and in particular individual Chiefs players that we will talk about in just a minute. But they are continuously doing it, and I am so happy, so thankful, Trevor, that they're doing it. We started this 3 weeks ago when I was talking about Jamar Chase infamously now saying, "Pat who?" We reacted to that. We knew that the Chiefs were going to have something to say about that. We've even heard Travis Kelce recently come out of the New Heights podcast with his brother Jason and say, "Hey, look, man, I'm good with you talking shit, but you better back that up and don't be talking shit on Pat Mahomes," because we all know that's not a guy you can talk to. He's a goated man. He's a made man at this point. You can't come at the king and you better not miss if you do, like our guy in the Wire said. Yeah. So we had that. Then we obviously had this last week's situation with the Bills making this, to me, baffling decision to extend Brandon Beane, their GM, and Sean McDermott, their head coach, an additional 2 years when they already had them under control till 2025. And they are currently a team that just has not been able to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, let alone the Chiefs and Bengals. They're 0-3 against those teams in the last 3 years in the playoffs. So now we're sitting here another week. And I'm telling you right now, Monday, Tuesday, I'm sitting here just like focused on, let's talk about some of these players that are on the team, about, some of these young guys, maybe potentially talk about what we're, expecting to see these guys do in training camp. It's kind of a slower time of the year, but let's maybe dive deep into some of these conversation pieces. And then what do you know? Eagles defensive lineman Brandon Graham decided to open his mouth and let words spew out. And it gave me everything I needed, Trevor. Everything I needed to talk about for today's show, and I know the fans, some of these people might not even know, but I know, Trevor, you said that there were some things you weren't even made aware of that he had stated, and there may be some of you out there that are watching this or listening to this right now that don't even have a clue what Brandon Graham's talking about, or what I'm here to end, guys, because this is going to be a fun conversation to be had. So there's an article that came out this week, Philadelphia's defensive front, and this is them talking about what Brandon Graham had to say as far as the matchup was concerned, how it all played out, and this is Brandon Graham's conversation. Philadelphia's defensive front, a group that flirted with all-time records for most sacks as a team, was supposed to help them win a Super Bowl. Instead, they came up empty-handed, failing to sack Patrick Mahomes even once in their 38-35 loss to Kansas City in Super Bowl 57. The Chiefs didn't shy from rubbing this fact in their face, wearing T-shirts that quoted 0 sacks printed across them during the team's parade. Given months to process the defeat, Brandon Graham has admitted the footing, not just the Chiefs' offense, was to blame. Quote, "You need that traction to be able to get off the block, and we were slipping a lot," Graham said in a recent interview on Sports Take with Derek Gunn and Rob Ellis. Quote, "I don't make excuses. That's being talked about, us trying to get out of our own head a little bit too. I'm telling you, that O-line, they got blessed. I'll say that," end quote. Graham has never been one to avoid speaking his mind, but he has a legitimate point. The playing surface at State Farm didn't exactly help players remain upright and was topic of discussion following the game. Quote, "When we looked at the film, man, it was a couple of times where if it was sweaty, don't slip, boy, there could have been a strip sack," Graham said. "Oh my God, especially that first drive when he threw it across the middle to Kelsey. He was right there, he slipped. We could not believe it," end quote. Buffalo can make a similar claim about their divisional round loss to Cincinnati, a game played on a snowy turf field in Orchard Park, New York, in which the Buffalo Bills recorded just 1 sack against a banged-up Bengals offensive line. Above all, though, both teams are playing on the same surface. This game is much about being able to adjust on the fly. It is relying on strengths to deliver success. Simply put, the Eagles didn't do quite enough to prevent Mahomes from authoring a memorable second-half comeback and sending them back to Philadelphia empty-handed. This is Brandon Graham's final quote. Quote, "When we finally look at the film, I finally looked at it and I was just like, man, oh man," Graham said. Quote, "But you know, like I said, credit to Kansas City. It's all love, you know what I'm saying? Them boys played too. They play on that surface too." End quote. I felt like this was a conversation that could have just very much went to the, like there's movies, Trevor, you watch that are really long, or series that are really long, and you're like, if you just got to the last 20 minutes, it would have been an even better film or an even better series, because that's really all that mattered. Right. I kind of feel like that's what Brandon Graham should have done with all this, because of the fact that if he, in fact, and I'm giving him credit here, if he was intentionally trying to make a classy conversation or statement out of all this by stating, well, I mean, it was definitely slippery, but both teams played on it, so those guys had to play too, and they did their job. If that's all he was trying to say, I'm with him. I'm not even sitting here talking about this. This isn't even something we talk about on the show, because we already knew that, Trevor, because what happened in week 1 for the Chiefs against Arizona in that very stadium? Harrison Butker and Trent McDuffie got hurt because of that very field, that shitty-ass field they have there in Arizona. So we knew what the context was at play. We talked about this, about how nervous we were going into the Super Bowl, about players slipping, getting hurt, things like that. It was a conversation piece. Yeah. And it was just as bad in the Super Bowl as it was in week 1. But the Chiefs did something that the Eagles clearly did not do. It's 2 things. One, they adjusted with their cleats. They, in the second half, came out with those longer the longer teeth in the bottom of the cleats, which would dig into a slipper field that would, during muddy, rainy, snowy games, players would wear. Yeah. So they made the adjustment the Eagles clearly did not. They also were wearing the gloves that were black gloves that were blending more in with Eagles players. So that way, if there was a tug or a push, maybe the ref doesn't notice. If you wear white gloves and you see those green or black jerseys, you will see that pull a little bit more. It was a veteran move by the Chiefs coaching staff. So there were 2 very significant differences in how these teams adjusted on the fly in the Super Bowl. And Brandon Graham, instead of acknowledging the fact that this was a disadvantage for both teams, tries to make a statement that states that somehow, some way, the Eagles were robbed of this win because of these barriers, of these hurdles that they would have to overcome. That, again, once again, and I don't know if he's aware of this, both teams had to play on the same field. Both teams had to adjust to the same opposition. It wasn't just the team you were going against. This field did suck. And what's funny about it is, as I recall, because the Eagles were this historic pass rush, and the Chiefs were second in the league, so they were right on the heels of the Eagles and as far as getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis, even though sack totals, the Eagles were far ahead of the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs had a really good season. The Chiefs managed to get 2 sacks on Jalen Hurts. So you can't sit here and say it's because of the field that Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and these guys didn't get to it. And I guess I'll be the one to remind everybody that Brandon Graham also didn't have a single box score stat in this game. He only played 18 snaps in this one.
He was slipping the whole game, man.
He clearly slipped over to the bench.
Couldn't get the traction.
If you want to blame anyone for your 0 in the sack column as a team and the L you took, blame yourself. Don't sit here and blame the field when both sides had to take it on, because even the writer of this tried to bring up the Buffalo Bills and Bengals game. Okay, first of all, that was at Buffalo. Buffalo should be the team that's well equipped for that type of weather. We've seen multiple times the Bills have played games against the Patriots and other teams where they have 6-7 inches of snow on the ground. You should be the team that's prepared for something like that. Even though Cincinnati is a cold city and they deal with snow themselves as an outdoor stadium, you should be the one that's out there going, look, guys, this is a bad offensive line. We're going to be dealing with some bad weather. Let's wear these particular cleats. Let's adjust to what we need to get done. We should be able to do what we need to do here at our home field. And they didn't do that. Yeah. The Bengals look like the team that was more prepared, just like the Chiefs look like the more prepared team against the Eagles. And here's my thing. I think Brandon Graham is really saying something else in all of this, and I'm going to get to what other portions of what he has said to this. But here's my point. If I was Brandon Graham, look, if I allowed someone with one healthy leg to run for 26 yards on the biggest drive in the Super Bowl and have one incompletion in the second half after blowing a double-digit lead, I'd be bitter too. I would be. I'd be very upset if I knew that my defense that was crushing quarterbacks all season long was allowing a guy like that was hurt throughout the entire postseason to do what he did. I'd be upset too. And real quick, we're talking about fields here. Do you guys remember in Week 4 of the 2021 season when the Chiefs visited the Eagles? Can someone ask Brandon Graham if the field was slick when Patrick Mahomes went, let me check this out, 24 of 30 for 278 yards, 5 touchdowns with a 131 quarterback rating? Anybody? That was just a year. That was a year previous. I didn't know if anybody saw that one or not. I guess was the field slick then? Was Brandon Graham and the guys struggling on that one? Maybe they just couldn't get to Patrick Mahomes either. The home field during October, slick. It doesn't end there though, Trevor. Like I told you, no. Brandon Graham kept going, and this time he decided to single out Patrick Mahomes. This is the excerpt from a recent Sports Illustrated article that just came out this week. Although it might seem as if the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl 57 win over the Philadelphia Eagles is a thing of the very distant past, the NFL's most recent game took place just a handful of months ago. The Chiefs capped off their celebration with a ring ceremony in mid-June, and the Super Bowl is still being reflected on by their opponents. In a recent appearance on JAKIB, JAKIB Sports Take program with Derek Gunn and Rob Ellis, Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham chimed in on a variety of topics. One of them was February's crushing Super Bowl loss, a game in which Philadelphia put up 35 points and ultimately came up just short. On the other side of the field, the Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes was an efficient 21 of 27 for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 6 times for 44 yards on a high ankle sprain, winning his second Super Bowl MVP in the process. Mahomes' ankle sprain in the divisional round of the playoffs against Jacksonville Jaguars was a focal point amongst Chiefs circles throughout the postseason as ankle watch took Kansas City by storm. Mahomes played through the pain and remained effective, although he re-aggravated the injury during the Super Bowl and appeared to be in serious pain. Graham commented on the injury from his perspective. Quote, "When the first half came to an end, we were in there and I was more thinking like, what's his name? Mahomes went in there on the sideline. He's looking like he's hurt. We've got to go get him. We've got to go get him. He came out. You can tell how tough he is, man, but that boy acted good. He sure put that face up like he was hurt, end quote. That boy acted good. So what Brandon Graham is telling us, Trevor, is that not only were the Eagles robbed of a Super Bowl victory because of the field that both teams played on, but now Patrick Mahomes, who had shown in the Jaguars game, had a high ankle sprain, had to leave the game for about a quarter and a half. He was acting. He was making it up. He was selling it. Because as we both know, Trevor, Patrick Mahomes selling it on the sidelines, then going back into the game down double digits and winning the game, selling it actually helps that, right? No, see, if he was selling it and then didn't come back in the game, that would be something Patrick Mahomes can utilize to his advantage by saying, well, I was so hurt I couldn't go back in the game. But him selling it and going back into the game, playing the way he did, you can see him limping around. How does that help his team win it all? Brandon Graham is making literally no sense in any of this. But you know what, Trevor? This is all of this, and I'm going to get your thoughts right now. All of this is why I'm so thankful for Brandon Graham, for Jamar Chase, for the Bills making the decisions they're making with their franchise. Because one day, the rest of the NFL, all other 31 teams, will finally understand that calling out Patrick Mahomes will only end terribly for them. It's only going to bite them in the ass. How many times have we seen that be the case, Trevor? Where teams talk out their ass, say, even back to Telvin Smith in 2018 for the Jaguars, come see me after the game, doing his thing, and the Chiefs go out there and whoop that ass.
Yep.
From that point to now, we've seen it work in the Chiefs' favor time and time and time again. And you would think by now, the NFL being a copycat league would realize, if talking shit about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, calling out the king, is going to get you in a heap of trouble, maybe we should stop doing that and maybe start praising them, kissing their ass a little bit. Not waking or poking the bear, waking the sleeping giant. That day hasn't come, Trevor. The league is still very much in that place where they like to talk that shit. Even after the Chiefs just hung their second banner, or about to hang their second banner in week 1, Patrick Mahomes getting his second Super Bowl MVP, his second regular season MVP, his second ring.
Yep.
But that day isn't here, Trevor, to be honest with you. Hopefully that day is nowhere near close to today because I'm enjoying the hell out of it. This has made my offseason what it is. Like, we're already celebrating, the Chiefs winning their second in 4 years, their second Super Bowl in 4 years. And we can sit here and gloat about it and be proud about it and talk about it and feel good about it. But seeing these other teams, these other victims of the Chiefs talking the way they're talking now only makes it that much sweeter. Because it tells me they all know that this is the team and this is the quarterback that's running their shit for the next decade plus. And they're mad about it. And I would be mad about it too. Like I said, I would be bitter too if I was Brandon Graham and I was giving up almost 30 rushing on one play in the biggest drive of the game to a guy who essentially has one leg, who had one incompletion, and that one incompletion, Trevor, was a throwaway in the back of the end zone the play before he threw the touchdown to Sky Moore. So, I'd be bitter too. I'd be bitter too if I knew that my best wasn't even close to this guy's best.
Yeah,
this
I'm
team's
sure
best.
That broken coverage had something to do with slippage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me your thoughts,
on the
Trevor.
same play, just flipping it, we scored on you twice. Yeah, especially for Brandon Graham, too, a guy that's nearing the end of his career. A guy's been a lifer, been an incredible player his whole career, and kudos to him for that. But this is just loser mentality stuff. This is why I'm glad I'm a winner. This is why I'm glad we're a winner because, when the loss sits there, and it all depends on the individual how you respond to the loss. Are you gonna take it and learn from it and build from it, or are you gonna sit there and try to talk about the other team? Basically, what he's saying, it seems like he's saying, all of this was a backhanded compliment, right? All of this was him, sliding us and then trying to put some honey on top of it or some sugar on top of it to make that slight a little sweeter at the end. And all of it is a non-starter because he was saying all this stuff in a critical form and then ends it with the positive affirmation of us being better that night. But he's also using excuses for why they weren't as good. It's a strange way to go about it. And I don't think he formulated his take very well, if I'm being honest. Granted, I don't know if it was off the cuff or just on the spot with that interview, but maybe prepare a little better and have a more a coherent point. But everyone was slipping on that field, man. It is what it is. We all played on it. Everyone, both teams played on that field, and trying to insinuate. And one thing that does get under my skin a little bit is with our 2 Super Bowl victories so far with Patrick Mahomes is everyone tries to act like we've lucked into 2 Super Bowl victories. All the opposition, all the haters, all the people from all the fan bases from other teams that have watched it from the outside looking in. When we're in it, we see, obviously, we can have rose-colored glasses on, sure. But in the NFL, you don't luck into 2 Super Bowls in 3 years.
No.
That doesn't happen. Not in this sport. I don't think in any sport. You don't luck into a championship in any sport. If you're like a one-hit wonder and you have a great run and you've loaded like the Rams of a couple seasons ago, they are all in. And they loaded up that roster for that run and they accomplished that. But they're not a team that's dynastic. They're not a team that anyone sees for the long haul. This is a team that I know I'm in it, so it feels this way for me, but it should feel this way for everyone else, and I think it does. They just don't want to admit it. This is a team that's just getting started. This is a dynastic team that is just getting started. I think that's why a lot of people are trying to slide us. That's why a lot of people are trying to fight the reality of this situation, and trying to like find the reasons to why we maybe won this Super Bowl or won that Super Bowl. When we lost to the Bucs in that Super Bowl, none of us were making excuses. We got our asses kicked, and we ate that shit sandwich. Down to the last bite, we ate the whole thing. We ate the entire hunk of shit, right? We ate the whole thing, man, and it sucked. And we took it like a man, and we rebuilt, we regrouped, we came back, and we won another Super Bowl, right? So that's the main thing I think that irks me the most about comments like this. And comments in general, obviously with the disrespect from the Bengals that we got, and then we took care of that business. Yes, they have us on the record right now, but we won when it mattered. They beat us when it mattered too. So that rivalry is still very much existent and still very much matters a lot between us. But the disrespect and the putting down or the belittling or the minimizing of what Patrick Mahomes is, what Andy Reid is as a coach, what Travis Kelce is as an elite weapon, what our defense did in that Super Bowl with a bunch of rookies on that defense, and we got veterans, aged veterans in this league talking about slipping and traction and Patrick Mahomes faking an injury. If anything, it makes him sound worse because that means Patrick Mahomes can go out there and fake an injury against you guys, flop around, and still beat you.
Right.
Sure. Let's say Patrick Mahomes is out there flopping around and making injuries and selling it to the refs or whatever. So he can do all that acting. So he beat you while acting.
Well, and here's another thing, Trevor. When it comes to, I think people misinterpret or misunderstand what the difference between an excuse and a reason. Like, for instance, what Brandon Graham is saying is an excuse.
Of course.
Because both teams suffered the same punishment.
That's why I started off saying it's a loser's mentality. This is coming from a loser's mentality. He's making excuses.
When it comes to the Chiefs losing to the Bucs, yes, we did take it on the chin because there was no choice. That game was over very early.
Yeah.
But it was also there were reasons for it. One, the Chiefs had their entire offensive line out. They were going against the best front seven in all of football. Mm-hmm. Also, the Buccaneers had a damn home game in the Super Bowl, which had never happened before in the history of the NFL.
Right.
The Chiefs also had almost 100 more penalty yards than the Bucs did. We saw how horrific the officiating was in that game.
It was a one-sided game, man.
And so, yeah, there are reasons for that loss. Patrick Mahomes had 2 drop touchdowns. Yeah. Those are all factors. Those are all things that are one-sided. Slipping on a field is something both teams can and will experience.
Well, shit, and we had a touchdown taken off the board from you know what I mean?
A fumble taken away from the Chiefs.
Yes.
There was a lot of things, man, that happens in games, and this is what I was talking about with the Eagles game, is that if Brandon Graham really wants to cry about this, look at the fact that the Chiefs had more penalties in the game, had more penalty yards in the game, and the fact that they had a fumble, like I said, a fumble taken away. There were opportunities the Chiefs had that were missed, and they were playing with an injured quarterback. And if you really, like I said, you want to blame somebody, you really want to start to look at it from an interior standpoint, your quarterback, who was fantastic in that game, was the quarterback made the one mistake, and that one mistake ended up being a scoop and score touchdown and a 3-point loss.
And dude, I need to reiterate this point. Like I think this is the youngest defensive unit to ever win a Super Bowl.
Yes, it
the
was.
average age is like 21,
The
22.
Chiefs had 9 rookies playing in the
This
Super
is
Bowl.
what I'm saying.
9.
And they're out there getting interceptions. And you got Nick Bolton out here, damn near should have had 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? It would have been the MVP of this game if they didn't take that touchdown off the board.
Right.
You know, a 2-year guy
Right.
coming in and being the MVP in a Super Bowl, man, like, it's in poor taste coming from Brandon Graham. I love this guy. Brandon Graham's always a great soundbite guy. He's always been a good shit talker. But this one just feels salty, man. At the end of the day, this take just feels salty. And you know, this is why I mean, love him or hate him. A lot of us hate him, but Joe Burrow, I'll give him his credit. Guys like that you know that can take their L and still show respect to Pat and still, you know, pay homage to, you know, who's on top at the moment. I can respect stuff like that. So, you know, I think that's the right. I mean, I'm not sitting here going to try to tell a grown man how to respond to his losses, but I think that's the classy way to do things, and I think it's the honest way to do things, because I think Brandon Graham is being extremely dishonest here and making excuses that were, as far as terrain excuses and all the things that everyone else had to deal with alongside, not just your team. This was a field that everyone was sharing, right? So it's just a silly take, and it definitely feels like a cop out and a 100% an excuse.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that too, because of the fact that are we going to start sitting and have people like, where do you draw the line? Because as I recall, Jalen Hurts got hurt at the end of the season. Some people were saying, well, maybe it's, you know, them trying to rest him to get ready for the postseason. Like, he could play, but maybe they're not playing him. What if we were to come out and say some shit like that? Like, that sounds. This is why I'm such a person, Trevor. We watch games together. Whenever I see injuries of any type for any team, man, I take that shit to heart, because these are men, these are family. The families are impacted. You leave the stadium, you leave the field, and that stays with you. It's not like that just ends. This isn't a video game. You know what I mean? Where you're just a bot out there. No. Like, these are real people, so I take that shit to heart. And so for me, for Brandon Graham to come out here, which again, you're right, Trevor. This guy has been one of the most like charitable people. I think he's won Walter Man of the Year, if not,
at least
he's been
twice.
One of them.
I think he's won it like twice.
He's a very charitable guy. He's a good dude. This isn't a personal attack on him. He's just dead wrong on how he's gone about this, and it's clearly bitterness that he's dealing with at this current time of his life and career, because he saw a Super Bowl get squandered. And again, yes, they were slipping. I'm not sitting here saying they weren't.
Yeah.
Sweat did slip on that, but I remember that play, that touchdown.
Sure.
You saw him fall down. But it could have just as easily happened to Chris Jones. It could have just as easily happened to George Karlaftis. It could have just as easily happened to Mike Dana and these other pass rushers on the other side of the field. They just didn't, because, again, the Chiefs were more prepared for what the field conditions were at that time.
Yeah.
Would we have preferred a more solidified field? Yes. But are we really going to sit here and say, with being definitive in it, if that field would have been dry as shit, the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I don't see it that way, Trevor.
Well, and two, I'll say this too. Like, I mean, in any great Super Bowl game that's tight all the way down to the wire, any great game in general, but specifically in championship games when things are tight and you know, it's the most intense moments of any sport, like whether it's hockey, whether it's basketball, finals, game 7, the NBA, when things are tight. Yeah, if one more extra thing breaks in the favor of the team that wins, yeah, that team benefited from that break, right? So I mean, of course, some things might have broken our way. That's the nature of the game. If one extra little thing might have broke the Eagles' way, they probably would have won. That's because these are the 2 best teams in football going head to head. Of course, it's going to come down to the last few plays.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just pay respect to the team that beat you. If they would have beat us, it would have been fair and square. Shit, there was a long moment in that game where I thought they were going to beat us. It felt that way for a while in that game. Going into halftime, it was rough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we had to dig ourselves out of that, and you know, for guys like Brandon Graham to make excuses, man, just take your L, bro.
And one more point on this, and then we move on to another topic that I have. And we'd love, by the way, if you're watching, if you're listening, hit us up in the chat, guys. Get on our YouTube channel. Let us know questions. There's a lot of going on now. MMA, UFC, whatever you guys got going on, whatever you got cooking up in the old dome, hit us up on the chat. Let us know what you guys want to talk about, and Trevor will bring it up. We'll have it on the screen. We'll present it, and we'll give you guys our honest feedback on what you guys have for us. But here's the funny thing about the Brandon Graham comment about Patrick Mahomes' injury and how he's acting, and you know all these excuses why they didn't pull out this victory. Trevor, do you remember what happened 2 weeks previous to that Super Bowl in the Eagles-Niners game? The Eagles won that game, right? They dominated the 49ers. What happened in the early part of that game, Trevor?
Whole lot of injuries.
Yeah, the 49ers lost not only their starting quarterback, their second starting quarter or their second string quarter, and their third string quarterback. They almost had Christian McCaffrey go out there and throw the football as a backup quarterback. Yes. That's how bad it got for the 49ers in that game.
Basically run a Wildcat the rest of the game.
So can I sit here and go, hey, Brandon Graham, the only reason you were in the Super Bowl is because of the fact of injuries that the 49ers suffered. Right. See, we can play this game. You really want to play this game. You want to sit here and talk about you guys lost the Super Bowl because a dude's acting on an injury, and you guys are slipping on the field. Okay, fine. You made the Super Bowl because the guys got injured. Would you like that? No, you would be sitting there saying, no, we earned that victory. We put ourselves in that place. It was home field. It was this and that. See, you get defensive when it comes against you. But when it comes against another team and you're sitting here talking about another man's injury, that's okay for you to say?
Yeah, I just got a problem with another grown man, especially a veteran who's been in this league much, double the amount of time that Patrick Mahomes has been, talking to a young two-time champion quarterback, trying to claim, he's faking something and trying to question who Pat is, and Pat's been nothing but a class act since he's been in this league. Even dealing, and I'm going to say it, even dealing with a lot of stuff that his brother's been putting him through outside outside of the game, a lot of distractions. I mean, you couldn't have handled it any better than the way Patrick Mahomes has done. I mean, he's been in absolutely every interview. He doesn't. There's never anything negative coming out of his mouth. Even when someone tries to bait him into saying something negative about another team,
right,
a rivalry, the Bengals, the Burrowhead shit, everyone's trying to bait him in. He never, ever, ever entertains it. He'll make like maybe a little passive aggressive stuff to kind of keep in his back pocket so he can utilize it and not blow his load on the interview, but let it all out on the field. That's how he does it. He proves it on the field. And I think that just pisses people off because he talks, he walks it more than he talks it, right? He lets his actions do all the communicating, and and now people want to like question this man's integrity. Why? Patrick Mahomes has been nothing but a man of integrity his whole career so far. You know what I mean? He took a year off his rookie year when I fully believe and he fully believes he could have been the guy from day one. Yet he took that season, he learned everything he could, he soaked everything up he could. And is taking that role and never looked back, and now he's got 2 rings on his hand already. Like, can we just? I mean, we got to stop, man. We got to stop trying to downplay what Patrick Mahomes has already done in his career. And I think it's because it's unprecedented. I think it's because the numbers and what he's done already in his career at this age, it's just never been done before.
Well, there's also jealousy.
I mean, of course,
jealousy is definitely a thing, man.
Of course, envy is going to be there. I mean, whenever someone's winning, there's going to be those that don't want you to win. I mean, that's just how it is. Because obviously, everyone's fighting to get to that mountaintop, and only one team can do it. And when one team has done it 2 of the last 3 years, there's going to be hate, right? Especially on a year when the Chiefs did it with all the amount of doubt. I don't think I've ever seen a team win a championship with the amount of doubt that the Chiefs had heading into the season, as far as football goes.
Right.
Because most teams that win a championship in the NFL, there's always like, oh yeah, there's always like a good chance these guys still win the Super Bowl. Most of the talking heads and a lot of people that are credible in the industry were saying that we weren't even going to make the postseason,
right?
And we win the Super Bowl. So I think that you talk about envy. I think a lot of that, the fact that we were able to push that was unprecedented. Patrick Mahomes, his career has did it, and being to 3 Super Bowls already at this young age and winning 2 of them, only losing 1 to the most accomplished quarterback of all time with one of the best defenses to ever be in the Super Bowl. It is what it is. So it's. I think that is all this is envy and jealousy for sure.
We'll get to your guys' comments in a little bit. I had another topic I wanted to bring up, and again, you guys can comment on any of these topics we're bringing up. If there's something you want to specifically talk about, Chiefs, NFL, MLB, NBA, MMA, whatever it is you guys got, you guys let us know what it is. I want to bring this conversation up because of the fact that it's been in the news as recent as yesterday. Our guy Charles Goldman from Chiefs Wire had an article this week, or yesterday rather, in regards to the Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed and a possible extension that could follow Chris Jones getting his. This is Charles Goldman's words. Kansas City Chiefs fans are counting the days until training camp and anxiously await news on a Chris Jones extension. Speaking on SportsCenter on Friday afternoon, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reiterated a lot of what is already known about the extension talks with Chris Jones. That is to say that the Chiefs are committed to getting a deal done and aim to have it done before training camp. What Kansas City could do with the salary cap space freed up by extending Chris Jones is where things start to get interesting. Quote, they're pretty committed to doing this deal, Fowler said on the Chiefs extending Jones. Quote, they'd like to preferably do it before training camp in late July. If they can't, maybe the holdout bleeds into the first few days of training camp, but they're committed to doing it. The $28 million cap hit for Jones would at that point be greatly reduced, which would free up some money if they wanted to go and chase, say, a DeAndre Hopkins. They've been linked to Hopkins in the past months, and maybe the stars align here because Hopkins, as we continue to hear, has been in no major rush to sign. He's been willing to wait. The Titans and Patriots still involved, so we'll see how that shakes out, end quote. As long as Hopkins is still available as a free agent, he'll continue to be connected to the Chiefs. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have both told media members that they're pleased with the wide receiver room thus far. So in addition, there might be a luxury rather than a necessity. Disagree. However, that's not the only option of the Chiefs have when it comes to using cap space freed in a Jones extension. Fowler mentioned the possibility of the team extending former 2020 fourth-round draft pick L'Jarius Sneed after a Jones deal gets done. Quote, also, cornerback L'Jarius Sneed considered a core piece of the Chiefs, Fowler continued. Quote, he's a 2024 free agent. They could try to re-sign him after Jones, end quote. Sneed has been a big part of the team's defensive success over the past 3 seasons, and locking him into an extension early could be beneficial for Kansas City with deals for players like Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey also on the horizon. End of the article. Okay, so you guys know how much I love L'Jarius Sneed. I gave him his nickname, Lord Jarius Sneed, because this man is royalty to me. This is a guy that has been an absolute fan favorite, who's been an absolute stud for the Chiefs. He is a jack of all trades. He is a guy that the Chiefs have been able to rely on in many different ways and different facets and get the job done for this defense and helping Patrick Mahomes win multiple Super Bowls, or at least this last championship and get to multiple Super Bowls. L'Jarius Sneed is not. I've said this on the show, even in our previous conversation, Trevor, when I talked about how outside of Chris Jones, there isn't a guy on this defense the Chiefs can't move off of and still have success. I still very much believe that. I haven't changed my thoughts or opinions on that one bit. That includes L'Jarius Sneed. But I also understand, and I do accept the fact that Brett Veach, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and these guys know this team better than I do and have a better grasp and grip of what it entails to make and sustain a winning team. So if they were to re-sign L'Jarius Sneed, I am in no way, shape, or form upset. I would be actually happy about it because I think he's a guy that can help this team win for the next 3 to 4 years without question. Because for the next 3 to 4 years, he won't even be 30 years old. So we're getting L'Jarius Sneed right now in his prime years, and if you extend him, you're keeping him for his prime years. It's the same principle that goes with Chris Jones. The difference is that Chris Jones plays a position that in the majority of situations in the NFL is a more valued position, being a guy that goes after the quarterback, plays in the interior of the defense. That tends to be more of a valued commodity in the NFL for most teams, especially here in Kansas City. Also, the fact that we've seen the way Brett Veach has built his defenses, it's been through the draft. It has not been through free agency. There's been a few times here and there where he'd go and get a guy in a trade, like a Charvarius Ward, who was an undrafted rookie. The Chiefs traded a backup center, Parker Ingranger, for him. There were zero expectations there. We've seen the Chiefs sign Mike Hughes. We've seen them sign Brashad Breeland. We've seen them sign guys in the past over the last 5 years. But we've never seen the Chiefs invest big money at the cornerback position. Not even at the safety position, which are the 2 positions L'Jarius Sneed can and will play throughout an entire NFL season. The most money the Chiefs have spent is what Tyrann Mathieu, I think it was a little over $30 million for a 3-year contract.
Worth it.
That's a little over, about $11 million a year.
Yep.
That's good money, but you're not breaking the bank. That's not Jamal Adams money.
Got a Super Bowl out of it. Exactly.
And those work out. But the point I'm trying to make is that I've seen Brett Veach and his tendencies. He has changed them because before Trent McDuffie, he had never drafted a cornerback before the 3rd round.
Well, things change when you win championships.
Things do change, and your team building has to, you have to adapt on the fly, but there also is a fundamental principle in how you build your team. Every team has them. They have their core beliefs on how you build your roster. Brett Veach has shown me that he wants to continue to develop young and cheap talent at the corner position.
Defense in general.
Yeah. But you have to keep your unicorns. And that's where the question really starts. Is L'Jarius Sneed a unicorn? I'm going to be honest. As much as I love L'Jarius Sneed, I don't view him as a unicorn player. I think if the Chiefs were to move off of him after 2024, they'd be just fine. Would they be Would they be lacking something? Possibly. But this is, again, why I bring up the conversation of Chamari Connor, of guys like him that the Chiefs draft almost essentially the same pick they got L'Jarius Sneed 3 years later. It's almost the same exact conversation we're having, where the low expectations, but Brett Veach is so good at finding these diamonds in the rough that who's to say that you don't find the same guy, if not better, in Chamari Connor or a future draft pick that you got in L'Jarius Sneed. Is L'Jarius Sneed a proven commodity? Yes. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here and say that I'm always a guy that likes to go after proven commodities. I don't like what ifs, but it's also positional based. If I know the Chiefs can go out there and win with what ifs at corner, I'm good with what ifs at corner. Yeah. If I know the Chiefs need to have sure things at corner for them to win, then you better believe I'm knocking down the door. They got to pay L'Jarius Sneed money. But that's not been the case so far. The Chiefs have been to 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, and one of them without an elite cornerback. They've not had a single elite cornerback. L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie are becoming premier players at that position, but neither one of them are elite at that position. No. They're not a Jalen Ramsey in their prime. They're not a Darrell Revis at their prime. They're not Champ Bailey. So the Chiefs don't build their defenses that way. They prefer to have a pass rush with elite players like Chris Jones.
They're not even Marcus Peters when you let him walk.
Right. That's why you pay Chris Jones. So again, I'm not opposed to L'Jarius Sneed getting a deal. And it probably wouldn't even be a super expensive deal. But if they do wait for another offseason to make it happen, and he has another stellar season like he just had, then it will be a little bit more pricey. But the Chiefs have to ask themselves this. They have to step back and look back and say, are we winning playoff games? And a large portion of it has to do with this guy, because if it does, we have to pay that guy. If it doesn't, then we have to move on, and we have to go cheap at that position again to pay for other guys in the future. Because like they talk about Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey, Trey Pancake Papa Smith, guys like that, Willie Gay, they're going to start having contracts coming up. And in my opinion, all those guys I just listed are more valuable to this team than L'Jarius Sneed, as crazy as that sounds. Maybe Nick Bolton and him are debatable, but Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, without question, are more valuable to this team moving forward than L'Jarius Sneed. Willie Gay plays a more valuable position in my eyes, especially in this Chiefs defense. I think he'd be more valuable if they had to choose between them. L'Jarius Sneed might be the better player, but that's not what we're talking about here. It's positional value. And if the Chiefs continue to build their team the way they do and continue to win, it only justifies not paying L'Jarius Sneed. What are your thoughts?
I think L'Jarius Sneed is, as far as him and Willie Gay go, I think his impact is bigger on the field than Willie Gay is, in my personal opinion. I know we can talk about the win-loss thing with Willie Gay on and off the field. I get that, but that's a little skewed in my opinion as far as linebackers' impact. I'm not a guy that I say it all the time on the show, and I know there's a lot of other people that feel the same way in the business. To pay cornerbacks big money. I would love to see L'Jarius Sneed find a way to stay on this team. I don't know what the market's going to look like by the end of this next season, and if he does ball out, man, it's contract year. Like like we talked about on the show, quoting Therese Paylor, R.I.P. The contract year is undefeated. So I fully expect him, barring health, to have a stellar year this year. And he's to me, he's still a pillar guy on this defense. Especially developing these younger guys. I think he played a big role in helping these other guys really step up and be ready for the big games in the Super Bowl and the postseason. He's a guy that just he doesn't do a lot of talking, man. No. I love that about him. He's a guy that he kind of reminds me of like a Justin Houston kind of mindset. He's more of a quiet, stoic kind of guy, but he goes out there and just rocks, man. He does his thing. He hits the quarterback, gets to the quarterback better than most corners do. Top of the league and getting to the quarterbacks as far as sacks and pressures go from the cornerback position. He's a hybrid kind of guy. He's a very valuable team, and I think he does a lot of things that don't show up on the stat sheet, in my personal opinion, just from watching the film. He's had moments where he's got burned. Every corner does. Every great corner has those moments. And I think he's one of the better corners in this league, and I think he's especially good at what he does in the Spags defense is, the corner blitzes. He's extremely quick at getting there. He hides it well. He disguises it well. He's a great product of this system, man, and Chamari Connor can definitely become that guy as well. He's a prototype. His prototype is very identical to L'Jarius Sneed. But if it was my way, man, if we could figure out a way, and like I said, we don't know what the market's going to look like by the end of this season. It could dip, it could rise, but I think the cornerback position, especially after the Jalen Ramsey. Granted, I know Jalen Ramsey got a Super Bowl. But since then, his numbers and his performances have not been that great. Yeah. So I think the league has kind of taken that as a notice of overpaying for cornerbacks regardless of how great they are, it's a very short-term thing, and you're not even promised to have unless you got an overloaded roster like that Rams team had, and a great coach. So a lot of things broke their way, and I don't think they will strictly because they made that move for Jalen Ramsey and paid him a shit ton. So I think overpaying for corners is a silly thing in this league. It's a very expendable position. And the Chiefs have shown that, like we just discussed on the show numerous times. The young corners that we threw out there in the Super Bowl were making plays, forcing turnovers. Against Joe Burrow in the AFC Championship game. Rookies out there making big plays. So I think he's a replaceable player, unfortunately. But I would absolutely love to see Snead on the back of a Chiefs jersey following this coming season for sure.
Yeah, it's not an opposition. It's like I said, if we're looking at this team to forecast how they're going to win for the next 10 years, you have to make decisions that are sometimes going to be uncomfortable. We've seen the Chiefs move off players that we at first really wanted. I wanted to see the Chiefs keep Orlando Brown. They even offered him multiple $100 million deals. The language is a little bit skewed, so obviously I understand why Orlando didn't take the deal. We saw them move off of Tyrann Mathieu, that we just talked about, and helped them get to 2 Super Bowls back-to-back, win one of them, played a very vital role in them winning that first Super Bowl. Like these are things that we talk about how you have to pay the guys that are going to be here that aren't. You're not paying them for what they did. You're paying them for what they're going to continue to do. L'Jarius Sneed could very well be that guy.
Yeah.
He could very well be a guy that shores up that cornerback position, the slot corner, blitzes off the edge. There's a lot of things he does that are very valuable. But again, when when the Chiefs are spelling it out for me that they're drafting a guy at the same draft, the same round, almost the same pick that has the same type of skill set for the majority of it with Jamari Conner. That tells me, especially a guy that was a captain, that means that he can step in and be a lead role, play the leadership role almost instantaneously. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a guy that is going to replace L'Jarius Sneed. Now, maybe Jamari Conner this year gets an opportunity to play a little bit, and he just looks like he's lost. Doesn't look like a guy that's going to play in the NFL very long, maybe a special teamer at best. That is a possibility. That would change the language of the conversation with L'Jarius Sneed, because then you'd have to say, well, we don't have the faith that Jamari Conner could adequately replace what we have in L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed's just now turning 27. Maybe we can give him a 3-year deal and keep him here for the foreseeable future, and then we can figure out what we do at cornerback in 2025, 2026.
Right.
That is a possibility. But the way that Brett Veach is drafted at that position in particular, even in the later rounds, like the 4th round, I have to believe that Jamari Conner is going to become something. Maybe he doesn't become as good as L'Jarius Sneed, but maybe he's good enough to replace L'Jarius Sneed, because those kind of guys aren't just walking around, but we see every single year somebody in the draft, late in the draft, becomes something special, and for some damn reason, Brett Veach is one of the GMs that seems to find those guys. And I'm okay with him finding those guys as long as it means that the Chiefs are going to continue to win and they don't have to pay the kind of money that most teams would have to pay for L'Jarius Sneed, because as we talk about, Trevor, the Chiefs are a team that that is quarterback reliant when it comes to how you build your infrastructure. Teams like the 49ers would pay L'Jarius Sneed whatever it took. That's why they went and took Charvarius Ward off the Chiefs' hands and paid him $47 million. Yep. Because they knew that they are not a team that is quarterback reliant. They're defensive reliant. They're reliant. They're skill position reliant. So every team is built differently. The Chiefs don't have this obligation to pay a guy like L'Jarius Sneed when 25 other teams probably have to. I mean, I could probably list 20 to 25 teams right now that they would be insane to let L'Jarius Sneed walk. But if we can win us on that wouldn't be the conversation. We'd be sitting here going, oh, okay, well, the Chiefs have they have Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams and Brian Cook and Trent McDuffie and whoever else they have out there, Nick Jones potentially, Najee Johnson. Maybe these guys that they keep drafting over these last couple of years, they've been spelling it out to us for the last couple of years, they're not spending money at those positions.
Yep.
And I don't think it's any coincidence, Trevor, that Brett Veach keeps drafting corners. Time and time and time again. Yep. He's drafted, 6 in the last 2 drafts? That's not a coincidence. Yeah. If you're a team that is reliant on the cornerback position, you know what you got in L'Jarius Sneed, you draft elsewhere, and then you pay him. That's how it works. That's how the market works. That's why, in my opinion, L'Jarius Sneed's market's so low right now is because of the fact they know that he's on a team right now that's probably not going to pay him a ton of money.
True.
So
And I think that matters the most, man. I think what the market is calling for, and if it's going to come down to what L'Jarius needed. Does he want to take a few more million from another team that has no promise, or does he want to stick around in this team and build something for his legacy of who he is and what he's done for this team and been a part of? And he's been a part of since the beginning, right? He's a 2-time champ now, and yeah, man. Like I hope we figure out a way to keep him on this team because I love L'Jarius Sneed. I love his leadership. I love what he does. I think he's a great fit for this. He's always been a great fit for Spags and what he does for Spags in this system. But if he's trying to be like one of the a top 5, top 3 paid corner in this league, then it's a pass from me, man. Unfortunately.
Well, and I don't think it's gonna come down to how much. Like I don't think he's gonna demand that type of market.
That's what I'm saying. The market might not even be. We can figure out a way to keep him on the cheap if possible.
Possibly. I just think that with the money that the Chiefs are going to have to start spending on some of these other players, like I said, they're going to have to be around. Like Creed Humphrey's 100% going to get an extension this next offseason. 100%. Yeah. And then Trey Smith's going to be right behind him because Joe Tooney and those guys still have their contracts. We don't know what they're going to do with left tackle. More than likely, they're going to draft a guy in the first round next draft.
Yeah.
There's going to be, Juwan Taylor's already under contract. So these other guys are going to have to start getting paid.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to decide about what you're going to do with Nick Bolton and Willie Gay Jr. and guys like that. Willie Gay.
If we believe we're going to get D-Hop, and that adds another thing into the mix.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, obviously like that. Chris Jones had to get him his extension in place. There's other pieces that the Chiefs are going to have to start discussing on. Now, the good thing for them is that Nick Bolton isn't a free agent until the year after Willie Gay is. So they wouldn't have to make that decision immediately. They can decide that or franchise tag a player. There's other opportunities out there for the Chiefs to make. My point, though, is there's going to be a lot of money distributed in these next couple of off seasons. Are they saying, hey, you know what? Our principle has been for the last 5 years we don't spend money at corner. L'Jarius Sneed is that exception, even though we've been drafting 5-6 cornerbacks over these last 2 years. Let's go ahead and spend money on him.
Right.
I just don't know if that conversation is going to be had, Trevor, because I don't know if they view L'Jarius Sneed as awesome as he is, if they really look at him as that guy that's going to be that long-term answer. I think there's other defenses out there like we'll overspend on him because, like I said, they're not going to be not everybody's got a Patrick Mahomes, and as it currently stands. Looking up the market value right now for L'Jarius Sneed on SpotRack.com. His annual salary right now on SpotRack.com is $7.5 million a year. That's nothing. Now I know that cornerbacks and running backs and positions like that are starting to lose a little bit of value when it comes to making the big bucks. But we've seen some guys at the cornerback position and safety position make some big dollars. Sure. So if he goes out there on the open market, I would have to imagine he's going to make more than $7.4 million a year. That's a 4-year, $29.6 million contract. I think the Chiefs would give him that. I just don't think that's going to be a reality. I think he's going to be a guy that probably makes a little bit more. I would say L'Jarius Sneed right now in the open market would make around $12 to $13 million a year. I think that's where he would make it. So I would almost double that number. I mean, do you see it the same way? Because I think that's where his number would be, is around like 12 to $14 million a year.
It really depends on the supply and demand of that position and what team thinks that they would need to throw their name in the mix and overpay for a guy or pay handsomely a guy that that they believe. It really depends on the market, man. It really does. And I don't know. I could definitely see a team like the Panthers or the Titans or one of these teams that's trying to be, add a guy to the mix that can stir the pot in that room and be a really defensive player for them. But I mean, like we've just talked about, like if other younger guys can go get the bag on the offseason, then I mean, why not L'Jarius Sneed? I still think L'Jarius Sneed is one of the best corners in this league at what he does, and what he does is unique overall compared to like what most corners can do as far as his blitzing ability, and his size and his strength and his speed. He's a full package guy. I will say that. I mean, he's not the best cover guy all the time, but he can do a whole lot, man. Very hybrid-esque player, very versatile. So I don't know, man. It really comes down to, do I think he's going to make $11-12 million a year? I would probably lean more on the other side of it. I don't think someone's going to pay that much for him, because just similar to like Eric B. I mean, this is a whole entire different spectrum. This is the coaching world considered comparing to the player world. But I think with the credit, where does the credit go? Do they think that L'Jarius Sneed was that much of an impact player to why we've had the success that we've had? Or has he kind of been riding the coattails of the Spags defense and the Andy Reid led offense with Patrick Mahomes and the offensive weapons on this team? So is the market going to respect him as the player, as a key cog to the machine that we built here, or are they going to see him as a Jag a guy that's kind of gone along for the ride. I think his stats would tell you that he's not a Jag. His film would tell you that he's not a Jag, but sometimes these executives and these GMs see things differently than we do, right? And obviously we probably see him in a better light than a lot of other teams do, because you say the name L'Jarius Sneed, not a lot of other teams and fan bases like think probably too much of him. We talk about him a lot because we're in it, we're here. But I don't think he's like one of those guys that really pops off the screen to most people. But if you watch his tape, it will, and you actually pay attention to what he's doing, it will. But as a Chiefs fan, I think we recognize it a little more. We see the value that he brings. But I don't know, man. That when the time comes, I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, let me ask you this question: who would you rather have if you're building your defense right now? Salary caps aside, none of that stuff. Don't know any of that stuff. You're just looking at a player and you want to plug them in. Which cornerback would you rather have on your defense? Would you rather have L'Jarius Sneed or Charvarius Ward?
L'Jarius Sneed.
Okay. Charvarius Ward signed a deal with the 49ers that pays him $13.5 million a year.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying.
Do you think the market's gone up since then?
I don't know if it's gone down. That's my thing. I don't think it's gone down. I mean, yeah, the value might not be as high as it once was, because back in the day we knew that you always had to have you got to have a lockdown corner.
Yeah.
You got to have a Hall of Famer. Now it's like, well, the Chiefs are kind of putting out a blueprint that you don't really have to. But here's the thing. Again, let me reiterate my point is that not every team has Patrick Mahomes. When you have a Patrick Mahomes, you don't have to have lockdown corners. You can have good, young, deep corners and get away with it, as long as you have a Chris Jones on the other side of the football field. See, the Chiefs have a lot of good things going for them to where they don't feel that necessity. If Chris Jones wasn't on this team, I would have to believe the Chiefs would make sure that they had as good of a secondary as possible, because you can't replace Chris Jones 1-for-1, sometimes 2-for-1. You're not going to just go find a guy that can just replicate what Chris Jones does.
Yeah.
So you'd have to make sure your secondary is as great as possible, because look at the Seattle Seahawks. This is what I said after last year's draft when the Chiefs drafted Trent McDuffie and took all these other guys in the draft. I said that it looked to me like the Chiefs were building their defense to be like Seattle Seahawks of 2013 and 2014. Biggest reason why? The Seahawks were not known to be a defense after the quarterback. They weren't getting a lot of sacks. You know what they were great at? Stopping the ball in the air.
Yep.
It was the no-fly zone, the Legion of Boom, like all that stuff. Like
the zone
they were
played.
not letting teams throw the ball on them. We saw Peyton Manning in a season, he threw 55 touchdowns and 5,500 yards. We saw him literally get lit up 43-8 against that defense. He could not pass against them.
But they did have some dogs that can get after the quarterback in that team too, with Cam Chancellor and
Bennett. They were there. My point though is they were always like in the bottom 13, 14 in sacks. They weren't getting a lot of sacks. The Chiefs defense, I thought that's what they were building towards. But because they have a guy like Chris Jones, they go and get George Karlaftis. They had Frank Clark. Now they're adding more pieces like a FAU.
Felix.
Guys like that. Like, I still think the Chiefs realize that their defense is probably best suited to have pass rush.
Yeah.
Pass rush first. So maybe they weren't building it Seattle Seahawks style, but I still think they built a secondary that makes guys like L'Jarius Sneed expendable. It still makes them expendable. Like I said, Trevor, they are 8-1 without L'Jarius Sneed, and they won the AFC Championship essentially without him against Joe Burrow and a plethora of weapons, the best wide receiving core probably in the NFL, and they turned that ball over multiple times, and it was these rookie corners that were doing it. Brian Cook doing the tip drill to Joshua Williams.
Well, and I think that comes down to the investment of the defensive line getting pressure on Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's what I'm saying. That's why I think that although I don't believe the market of corners as a whole is going down, I think with teams built like the Chiefs, the market isn't as high as it would be for a team like the 49ers, as it would be for a team like even the Eagles. You saw how much money they've invested in their secondary because they didn't know what they were getting out of Jalen Hurts. Now that they know he's an elite quarterback, watch the way the Eagles start handling the secondary. You're going to see them build their secondary a lot differently because they know they got to get Jalen Hurts as many weapons on the offensive side, continue to build offensive line, which by the way is getting old quick. They're going to have to start spending money on the offensive line. They're going cheap on the secondary because you got to go cheap somewhere. And if your secondary isn't as valuable as your pass rush, if it isn't as valuable as your protecting your quarterback, and if it isn't as important as your quarterback, you have to go cheap somewhere, and it's going to be there. And that's where the Chiefs have been going cheap, and I think that's where they're going to continue. I'm still on the side. I don't believe they're going to get paid here. He's somewhere else. It's team like needs cornerback play that has been a team that rallies around that type of play to win games.
We do have an interesting comment too from on the YouTube side from our guy Ruben DeCruz. He says we do value versatile players, and I do agree with that. I think that is true. I think Andy Reid has always valued like offensive linemen that are swing tackles and guys that can be play any position along the offensive line. Guys on the defensive side that can be moved around. Obviously, they experimented with Chris Jones, trying to move him around. hybrid players like L'Jarius Sneed, guys that can play even safety at the, play in the box at times. He can obviously blitz the quarterback extremely well, play great in coverage as well. So versatile guys like that are extremely valuable, and I think the Chiefs have shown that they do value guys like that. So possibly that could be leverage to keep them around, or reasons to keep them around.
Let me and thank you, Ruben, for the comment. Keep bringing them in. If you have any other ones you want to bring up to us, I will say this though to that point, you're 100% correct. They do value that. Yeah. That's why they keep drafting them. Like sure. It's not that they don't see L'Jarius Sneed as a valued commodity. What they're looking at him now is he a valued commodity that we're willing to spend millions of dollars
older,
on?
They stay the same age.
Yeah. Well, because look at L'Jarius Sneed. Like, you got to remember, man, they got him for nothing. A 4th round, I think it was 138th overall pick. Like, they got him for nothing. They've been paying him nothing. Yeah. And then you got to think about it. He's probably, right now, L'Jarius Sneed is probably as good as he's ever going to be. Maybe he might get a little better. But I would say right now, he's probably at apex of his game. Like, we think this is probably prime years of L'Jarius Sneed.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. You're paying next to nothing for that now, to going to paying $8 to $10 million a year, if not more, for that same performance. Is that worth it to you? Or do you say, hey, Brett Veach, we've seen you do it multiple times. You find guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, undrafted guys that become like L'Jarius Sneed. Guys that are L'Jarius Sneed. Because before the draft, when they picked L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th round, yeah, the profile looked good. People said they liked him and everything, but he came in as a safety, ended up becoming a slot corner.
Expecting to hit that kind of player numerous times, though, is tough. I mean,
it's tough, but it's done. They're doing, like, the question I always ask when it comes to these types of situations: who do we think's better at their job? Is L'Jarius Sneed better at his job than Brett Veach, or is the other way around? Because in my opinion, I think Brett Veach is better at his job than L'Jarius Sneed. That's not a knock on L'Jarius. That's praise to Brett Veach.
Not even just Brett Veach. It's Spags too. Let's give Spags his kudos as well. I mean, as far as like his system and him developing these guys into the players that they've become.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because that's why I do love guys like Jamari Connor and what L'Jarius Sneed has become in this league. Because the hype wasn't really there on L'Jarius Sneed. He's become one of the better corners and versatile corners in this league. And I think that's a lot to do with Spags and what he's done in developing him and putting him in the right place, in the right position at the right time, and to have success in numbers that he's had so far. But yeah, I mean, I do like that point though from Ruben talking about how the Chiefs do value versatile players. Andy Reid's always, even on the offensive side, guys like McCole and guys that can run the ball and do the jet sweeps and be a good route runner and catching the deep ball, stretching the field, do all kinds of things. He loves the Sky Moores, the guys that do the similar things like that. So I even think Trent McDuffie is a similar, and Trent McDuffie hasn't gotten the credit yet because we haven't really seen it yet, but that's who Trent McDuffie is as well. Don't people sleep on the versatility of Trent McDuffie? I mean, I think that guy can blitz as well. That guy can make some good tackles as well. You can watch his film and Washington, man. That guy was a stud.
Make no mistake about this. I'll put this out here on air now. L'Jarius Sneed is the more versatile player, but Trent McDuffie is the lockdown corner.
Yeah, man.
We saw it a lot during the regular season and in the postseason. This dude was making open field tackles.
His hip fluidity and being able to stay these
shutting
guys.
people down. He was up against one-on-one with A.J. Brown. Like, this dude, he makes his mistakes because he's young.
Well, that play he gave up against Cincy was a play he slipped on.
Exactly.
I mean, it happens.
It happens all the time.
He was there, though.
The best of the best deal with that shit.
Yep.
But Trent McDuffie is the kind of guy that we'll talk about in a couple of years from now.
Yes.
Where do the Chiefs pay him? That's a guy that you have to start wondering, like, because the Chiefs have 4 or 5 years of control. Maybe they use him for 5 years and it's like, okay, now we're out of the Trent McDuffie business. That could be possible. And I'm okay with that. Because like I said, you have to make cutthroat decisions when you're a team that's going for Super Bowls.
Right.
But Trent McDuffie's the kind of guy that the Chiefs would have to think about as well. Because as awesome as L'Jarius Sneed is, you have to remember, man, they not only took Trent McDuffie with a first-round pick, they traded up for him.
Right.
They went and got him. They said, we want this guy. So we saw the Willem so far has become a guy that the Bills had to play instead of Trent McDuffie later on in the first round, and Elam hasn't looked anywhere close to as good as Trent McDuffie. Maybe he ends up becoming a good player, but they've benched him multiple times during the regular season. Elam doesn't look like he's going to be turning out into anything close to what Trent McDuffie looks to be in his trajectory. So that's where I stand on it right now. I do agree with our guy Ruben. I think that, yes, they do value versatile players. They're going to continue to value those guys, but at what number? At what price mark. Have to. I think the Chiefs are looking at it going, yes, we want as many versatile guys as possible, but we also want to save money. And if we can find these versatile guys in the draft, we're going to continue to go down that Rolodex, and we're going to continue to find guys in the draft that we can use to 5 years and use them at a cheap mark instead of paying every single guy that's versatile for the defense.
Gotcha.
I don't know if there's any other comments that we have right now. I did see a comment from our guy Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo Yo Yo.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead and lay that one out. It wasn't a long comment or anything, but what was the?
No, he just. I mean, we could have talked about this right at the top of the show because the news broke basically right as we started the show. But he made the comment of about Damian Lillard requesting a trade from Portland. That is a massive thing. I mean, we've talked about that, the back and forth of you just giving him the L last week about the situation. Me like, I don't know, man. Like he was sharing the stuff. I think Miami there's still some smoke there because Miami just got rid of a few assets. They got rid of their 2 best shooters. It makes a whole lot of sense for them to bring an elite shooter in now. I think the Dame Lillard to Miami makes a whole lot more sense now that he's requested a trade from Portland, man. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed the temperature changing here, Trevor, in the studio, but the hell froze over.
Yeah, man.
Damian Lillard actually had the nuts to ask for a trade.
I think this hurts his reputation, if I'm being honest with you.
It hurts his reputation, yes, because what we talked about before. This is the guy that's been
all
sitting
that
there talking about all that
talking.
loyalty, and I understand where Damian's coming from because he wants to be a guy. He's a crowd pleaser.
Sure.
He wants to make his fan base happy. He doesn't ever want to be the bad guy. It's not in his nature. He doesn't want to be the villain. Yeah. What he has to understand, though, is requesting a trade in sports is not making you a villain.
It's a business. It's a business, bro.
Well, especially when you have been playing for a franchise that has not been historically great at building teams to win championships. You have given this franchise everything in your power. Do you really think that Minnesota Timberwolves fans think back on KG negatively?
Hell no, man.
Do you think fan bases as a whole think of KG negatively?
Bro,
no. He gave them 11 years.
Yeah, most Wolves fans I know were super happy for him when he won in Boston.
And here Dame giving a decade to the Blazers, to the Trailblazers, everything he has. Great NBA season after great NBA season, leading them to the playoffs. I think they went to one Western Conference Finals. Like, he's taking them as far as he possibly can in a league that is not known for guards to take teams to prominence. He's taking them as far as he possibly can as a 6'1", 6'2" guard. He's developed his game. He's sharpened his game. He's become a better player each and every year, it seems, as he's given this team everything
his
he can.
His story's incredible, dude. Coming out of a small school. Yeah.
He's now in his 30s. He needs an opportunity to win. That's what we've been saying all along. Man, go get a chance at a ring.
One of the best shooters of his era.
Like, you've done everything you can in Portland, man. It's just not working. And now they're moving, obviously, to the future with Scoot, with these other young guys they're trying to bring into the equation. You're no longer relevant in Portland. As shitty as that sounds, I mean, I'm saying the fan base loves them. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying where
team,
they're moving. Yes,
the status of the team.
You're no longer a fit for what they're doing. Like, imagine if the Warriors went on a youth movement, right? And they kept Jordan Poole, Kuminga, but they got rid of Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, all those guys, right?
Right.
And Steph's still on the team. Like, Steph's still great, but is he the right fit for the team moving forward? No, because he's in his mid-30s. He's a guy you want to win right now with. That's the same thing with Dame Lillard. That's why, whether it's the Heat, I still think Philadelphia is a great option. That's the team I'd love to see him go to because the desperation from Nick Nurse, the desperation from Joel Embiid, the desperation from that franchise as a whole. I would love to see Dame Lillard go there. Yeah. I would love to see him pair up with another superstar player. I love Jimmy Butler. He's not on the level of Joel Embiid. I would love to see him pair up with a 29-year-old superstar like Joel Embiid and see where that could go, see where that could take him. I know Maxey would probably be in that trade if they ended up trading for him. I think that Tobias Harris's expiring contract.
They don't have
probably
depth,
go in
though,
there.
Man. Like, I don't know what they would build.
But do the Heat really have depth now?
I think the big three in the Heat would be a better position for him to win. You
think so? Okay.
I think so, man, because the Heat already done it. They were just in the finals. You know what I mean? So you tell me they can get a and what's the name? Homeboy that just went to the Lakers.
Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent. You get rid of those two guys and you bring in Dame and Lillard, bro.
But think about this from a legacy perspective.
Yeah.
If Dame goes to Philly, Dame goes to Philly and they go to the finals, that makes him look better than he was going to the finals because the Heat already done it. They've been to the finals 2 times last.
Like, no offense to Joel Embiid, I love Joel Embiid. That's my guy. I love him. He's a KU guy, like, for sure. But he's proven that he can get his team into position. He said last year's roster was a really good team. I know he was a little banged up, but I mean that's the story of his career. Yeah. You know what I mean? I would trust the Heat and Spoelstra and them figuring it out with keeping the nucleus of Bam, whoever. I don't know if I think Hero would probably have to go in that trade package. But if you can keep Bam with Dame, and then obviously you have Jimmy, I think that would be a legitimate big three, and I think they'd have a better chance of winning with the great coaching of Spoelstra and that winning culture that they have there, man. Like you said, they've been to the finals twice in the last few seasons. Like I think they have a winning culture there, and I think you put Dame in that mix, man.
All I'll say is this: I think Philadelphia. Well, first of all, I know Joel Embiid didn't play well, especially in that final game. Trust me.
Well,
I get
Jimmy
it.
Butler didn't
He
either
shot
the last couple
terribly.
games. Yeah.
But here's my thing: Joel Embiid was dealing with 2 significant injuries.
Sure.
First of all. Second of all,
that's always
James Harden was his second best player, and James Harden is horrendous in the playoffs. Third of all, Doc Rivers is famous for what, Trevor? Choking big leads in the playoffs. Sure. So Joel Embiid was going up against a lot, dude. Not to mention a Celtics team that should have been in the finals this year. They were the most complete team in the Eastern Conference.
Which one do you think makes more sense? I think it makes more sense for him to go to Miami.
I think based on
Playing for
coaching
the better
and experience,
coach.
yes.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. If you're looking at legacy and you're looking at,
I think it's the better
pairing up-
roster.
I'd probably say the better. The Sixers are a really
If
good
Harden's
team.
gone,
But here's the thing: what if they trade Harden and get some good pieces? Because that's what's probably going to happen.
who's out there?
Or if they get Zach LaVine, and then you have Damian Lillard, Zach LaVine, and Joel Embiid.
I still like
would like that over the Heat?
I still like the Heat better.
Or you like the Heat over that?
Yeah, because you got Bam, who's one of the better undersized guy, but one of the better power forwards / centers in this league as far as athleticism, defense, and what he can do, second chance points, things like that. I know Embiid is like a top 3 player in this league. I get that. He's incredible, but I can't trust his health. I would rather strap myself to Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and possibly Tyler Hero as a third, fourth guy, and the coaching of Spoelstra than what's going on in Philly right now. All the moving parts in Philly. I think Miami has an established winning culture over there.
We've never seen Joel Embiid play with a superstar player.
I mean,
James Harden was not a superstar player.
you don't think James Harden's on Damian Lillard's level?
Right now? Hell no. Dude, James Harden is a guy that can play the point guard position really
throughout
well.
his career, he's been the better
player.
player.
In the career, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying
it's close.
In the context of today, like Damian is clearly the better player between the two. Yeah. Like James is a horrendous defender, and his scoring has gone down.
Dame's not really a great defender.
James Harden's
anyway.
averaging 19, 20 a game at this point of his career, 21 points a game. Damian Lillard is one of the best scorers in basketball
for sure.
And he can pass
and he's
with the best of them.
shit.
Yes, he averages 8 assists a game too. Yeah. So let's be real. Damian Lillard is a guy I would take over James Harden in a heartbeat right now.
I think you got to factor. I think you got to factor in the fact that Dame and Bam Adebayo are boys.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that the Heat thing
That's
won't
a big
happen.
deal.
I'm saying if I'm looking at it from a storyline perspective for Dame's legacy and pairing up for the first time in his career with a superstar player, and that superstar player he's pairing up with gets to pair up with another superstar player for the first time in his career, the desperation effect, Nick Nurse, getting his second chance as a head coach, Joel Embiid getting his. I mean, let's be real, bro. If this doesn't work out with Joel Embiid after this year, he might be moving on. So there's a
last
lot
chance
of
to really.
Yeah, like the desperation of it to me is a better story, a better fit than going to Heat. The Heat have been to 2 finals. Jimmy Butler, who's going to be 34 years old this year. Bam Adebayo, a very one-sided player. Yeah. I know it's his boy, and it would fit. Don't get me wrong. They could go to the finals because Spo is such a great head coach. They have a good team around him. They have great culture, all that stuff. I would like to see him play with a team like the Sixers, which is there's more uncertainty and more desperation. That if they went, it felt like there was earned more, if that makes sense.
Uncertainty and desperation embodies what the Portland Trail Blazers have been this whole time.
I'm saying that, but I'm saying,
you know what I mean? Like, does he want more of that?
The Blazers have never given him a Joel Embiid, is what I'm saying. Now that you get a Joel Embiid, you have a potential of a guy like a Zach LaVine or somebody else they can get in a trade. We don't even know who they can get in a trade, but I think they would get a legitimate trade because whoever gets James Harden is going to have an exciting regular season. A team that won't win.
No offense to Joel Embiid, though, man, but Joel Embiid's had Jimmy Butler. Joel Embiid's had James Harden. Joel Embiid's had young studs like Tyrese Maxey. He only had Jimmy Butler for 55 games.
Sure,
man, but
they traded him off.
Yeah, I get that, and then since then, Jimmy Butler's had nothing but success. He's been to the finals twice. Granted, he's lost to the better teams both times, but I mean,
if Joel Embiid played for the Heat, he wouldn't have been in the finals.
I don't know.
I mean, give Spoelstra Joel Embiid.
Would he be banged up?
I mean,
look, I love Joel Embiid, dude, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can bank on Joel, dude. If I'm a betting man, I'm betting on Joel Embiid to either miss a season or have a significant injury heading into the postseason rather than making the finals. He's never been to the finals. He's never proven he can even get there.
Well, you'd say
Jimmy Butler's
Anthony
been there
Davis
twice.
Anthony Davis has been even more injury prone than Joel Embiid has been.
Sure, but he had LeBron James.
Exactly. If you gave Joel a Damian Lillard,
The impact of Dame is not even close to LeBron
I get
James,
it. Obviously, yes. I'm saying though, Trevor, if you gave him another superstar player for the first time in his career, to where he didn't have to weigh all that on, because you got to remember, dude, the whole Ben Simmons thing, all that shit was going down. He only had Jimmy for a little over 50 games. If you gave him a Damian Lillard, where he could rely on him, and sometimes when he's not the guy, where he's injured.
It sounds like you're making the argument for Jimmy Butler right now, though, because Jimmy Butler's been to the finals twice, couldn't get it done because everything was on him.
Right.
You take that pressure off him, you get Damian Lillard out there hitting threes like he does and scoring like he does.
I'm saying that
helps that Heat.
I'm building the storyline effect of Joel Embiid being the better player between him and Jimmy Butler, who's never gotten a chance to build alongside a great player like Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's never got to build alongside a guy like Joel Embiid. That if they were to get to the finals, because if Damian Lillard goes to the Heat and they go to the finals, like, oh, okay, not really shocking.
That would be my favorite immediately.
If he goes to the Sixers and they do it, it's like, oh, dude, he was the missing piece. Joel Embiid finally has his chance in the finals, and if they were to win the finals, like both these guys winning their first title together, like it would feel like the Celtics kind of did, where you had Paul Pierce playing all those years, Ray Allen playing all those years, KG playing all those years. They finally got together and they won a title. Good, it just felt right. You know what I mean? Like it to me, that would feel right. I'm not saying that. I'm not opposed to him going to the Heat. I'm not trying to say that's
I just
wrong.
think that's what's going to happen. I think that's the best fit.
Maybe
if he wants to go win a ring, go to the Bucks or
Yeah.
go to the Celtics. I think those two teams are going to be ready.
I don't think those teams are doing that.
No. But I'm saying if he really wants to, if it's not about money and he just wants to go win chips, I think joining one of those two teams would make the most sense, is to go out and make things unfair. That's to me would be more similar to the Celtics of KG and Ray Allen and those guys.
Yeah.
But because they just overwhelmingly were the best team in the East. Outside of the years when they lost to the Heat, of course. When that trade happened, that was just ridiculous. But I mean, man, I honestly never thought I'd see the day where Dame was the one demanding a trade.
Who would have thought?
Maybe using him as trade bait from their end made more sense to me. But Dame actually being the one to push this is it's a bit of a shock, man. Because just from all his whole brand.
They were playing chicken.
His whole brand, though, his whole career, his whole brand has been about, the loyalty and not wanting to be like these guys, not wanting to team hop, not wanting to form super teams. Here he is,
man.
It's going to happen, dude. Like, it caught up to you eventually.
Everybody goes through this. Unless you are, look, is it any coincidence to anybody else that the only guys, because everybody puts this emphasis on, staying with one team,
pure,
being loyal.
You're selling purity.
Well,
you're selling
okay,
purity.
You're going to tell me right now that Steph Curry would have stayed with the Warriors all these years if he didn't have Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant?
Right time, right situation. Just happened to work out for
Kobe
you.
Bryant, who demanded
buddy.
a trade from the Lakers.
Yeah, as soon as Shaq was gone.
Shaq was gone. Yeah. If he didn't get Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, Ron Artest,
well, I will say
Phil Jackson come back.
He definitely felt screwed over by the nixing of the Chris Paul trade. I know that was late on, but I mean at the same time, that was a shitty situation. That was a strange situation.
Daniel Stern,
yeah, there was some inside stuff going on, I believe, at that time. So that he probably felt a certain way. I mean, I think he did before that happened, though.
In 07.
So yeah, but still, either way, I mean.
And then they get Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, Ron Artest, Phil Jackson.
No one
comes
is
back,
exempt of demanding a trade.
And all of a sudden, Kobe Bryant's happy and healthy and ready to play the rest of his career at the LA Lakers.
Yeah.
My point is that guys don't leave teams that take care of them. LeBron had to leave Cleveland after year 7 because of
fulfilled that contract.
They wouldn't give him another star player. Yeah. You have to have that kind of help to win. He didn't ever have a great head coach in his first
years.
His
teammates didn't even want him when he got drafted there. They're talking about, he had guys like
Drew Gooden.
Oh, talking about we don't even really need LeBron. We got guys in this team.
Larry Hughes, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah. You got so Damian Lillard was just basically kicking the can down the road and denying the inevitable. That dude, if you really do want to win, this is why I started questioning whether he actually did want to win or not. Because if he means what he's saying, then he's more worried about never being judged by Blazers fans and the rest of the NBA fans who are unfair to these types of guys than actually going out there and getting a chance to win. Because I'll give Kevin Durant one thing: Kevin Durant went after what he wanted. He's like, look, I'll take the criticism, but I'm joining the Warriors. I'm winning 2 rings.
I don't give a shit what he does.
And he's got 2 rings.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be fair, man. You play to win this game.
He went after what he wanted.
This is a game. You play to win the game. If I found leverage and way to win Monopoly, you damn right I'm doing it.
And it's ironic too because Damian Lillard to me isn't a guy that has as big a bunny ears as Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant still made that decision.
Sure.
So all the more reason why
he knew
Dame
it was
Lillard
coming.
So Dame Lillard he buried himself in that place because he put a position no matter you're going to be chastised, bro, because you chose to either accept loyalty to a mediocre franchise,
Yep.
or stand firm and say, I'm never getting traded, I'm never leaving this team, and end up doing that exact same thing, makes you a hypocrite, and everybody else laughs at you.
Yeah.
So what he should have done is just did what LeBron did, honor your contract, and then move forward.
And just be honest.
Yes.
You know
the
what I mean?
only thing that people crushed LeBron on was the way he handled the decision.
Sure.
It wasn't that he left Cleveland. No one judged him.
He
for
made
leaving
an
Cleveland.
ordeal about it and gave a shit ton of money to charity. Cry about it. Cry about it.
Nobody with an actual logical brain judged him for leaving Cleveland because they knew, dude, that guy gave them everything.
Bro, at that moment, LeBron, and since then, that moment, LeBron's been bigger than the NBA.
Right.
He was the NBA, and still, honestly, between him, Steph Curry, and maybe a couple other guys, is the face of the league still. So stop it. He knew what he was doing. He knew the leverage he had. He was the king of the league. I do want to have one more question about this Dame Lillard situation, though, because I think something had to have pushed him over the edge to do this, to take this risk and risk his whole integrity of his whole career and what he's been about. Like I said, his brand has been loyalty and blah, blah, blah. I know he was trying to get Draymond to come over to Portland, but similar to how LeBron was trying to recruit guys to come to Cleveland, and that was never working, so it took him leaving for Cleveland to have to rebuild and him eventually rejoining and making a run over there. But again, do you think the Portland Trailblazers not being able to land a Draymond or a player of his ilk, a defensive player or another star player, kind of pushed him over the edge to demand that trade?
100%.
Yeah.
Biggest reason why I know that is not even 24 hours ago, Draymond Green got that 4-year, $100
paid.
million. Yeah, 4-year, $100 million
Crazy.
deal from the Warriors.
Bro, what a slight to Jordan Poole though, man.
Well, and
they
we also
fucking
saw
chose Draymond.
we also saw that just a few days ago, Damian Lillard was reportedly meeting with the Blazers brass to figure out where they were headed.
Yeah.
So we don't know what was said in that conversation.
Yeah, because
I
they
know-
just extended what's his name?
Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant,
He got
yeah.
like $160 million.
Hell of a player. So he deserves it.
Well, okay, here's the thing. If Dame goes in there with a set of demands,
Yeah.
and even though, like we said, we've heard the Blazers GM and all those guys say, like, oh, no, we're moving forward with Damian Lillard. Like, they say those things. Yeah. But if they met in there and Lillard and his representation had a set of demands, we're like, hey, listen, you guys got to go get Draymond Green if you want me to stay here. I'm not going to request a trade if you guys do this. Then obviously the public eye is something we both care about here, because neither one of us want to budge on whether, well, they're going to reportedly move on Damian Lillard or Damian Lillard is going to reportedly request a trade. We both obviously care about PR here. So here's my series of demands. If you guys don't want to meet me there halfway, this chicken game's going to be over with, and I'm going to eventually request a trade. Well, Damian, we just drafted Scoot. We're moving in this direction. We want to go young. We want to restart. We kind of want to refresh. We love you. We know the fans obviously adore you. You're the greatest Blazer player ever, probably, more than likely. So we want to keep this thing as civil as possible. We can't honor your demands. So we're leaving it up to you on how you want to handle this. Yeah. Okay. Meets with his representation. 48 hours later, requests a trade. And I think it's also fitting that, like I said, when he sees that Draymond finalizes that deal with the Warriors, that's going to keep him there for the rest of his career. That's when Draymond realized, I got to move forward. So I think that's exactly what got the ball rolling. Damian is afraid of being a guy that's going to be the one that requests a trade because he doesn't want to look like the bad guy. But at this point, he had no other choice, because either that or he stays with a team that's going to win 34 games next year and win nothing.
Yeah, I agree, man.
So I don't know if we have anything else on the chat. Doesn't really look like it at this point. That's totally okay. We know this is the 4th of July weekend.
We do have a question.
You do have a question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah. So one from Maggie Shane, but I have one before I have from just to keep it on the end before we transition back to football.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
he has
go,
a football
go.
question. Ruben actually has a question. He says, "Do you think Zion gets his shit together?"
Well, that's a loaded question. What are we talking about, on or off the court? Because off the court, I think he does, because I think he's realized that keep putting his personal life out there in the open can be a very dangerous thing. I know he didn't necessarily do it, but putting yourself in association with people that will, I think he's definitely learned from that. Hopefully he will learn from that. So I will say that in good faith, Zion will lock it up and be a little bit more of a private person and be with people that, will not go out there and out him, if you will.
Right. I
think that comes with age. I think we all learn that. He's a young man still. I think he's, 22 years old just now. I think you learn that with age of who you have around you, who you associate with. That's definitely something he's going to learn. When it comes to the courts, on the court side of things, I've told you guys when we had this conversation a couple years ago when it was going to come down to him or John Morant in the draft, and obviously we know that John Morant's got some stuff off the court that ironically I'm worried he will never take care of. On the court, though, John Morant does take care of business. The dude always plays.
Star.
Always effective. He always does his thing. That's my equal concern on the other side for Zion. Is I just don't know if his body is going to be able to allow him to play a long term and get his shit together, if you will, because of the fact that he's so big and he has such high springs and I feel like his knees and his ankles and his back and all that's just going to really catch him. His body's going to age a lot quicker than a lot of other people. I'm not rooting for this because I actually want to see Zion, because I think if he plays and has a 12, 13-year career, he's a Hall of Famer. Because when he plays, he's one of the best players in basketball.
He might be the greatest athlete we've ever seen between him and LeBron as far as like overall athleticism
when he
and size.
Plays, we saw this last season when the Pelicans, when he was healthy, they were one of the best teams. They were the top-ranked Western Conference team for literally 2 weeks. When he plays, he's a walking 26-12. He is a powerhouse.
And an absolutely elite defender.
I just don't think his body's going to hold up. So I'm going to say that, yes, he gets his shit together on the PR side of things. But when it comes to the court, when it comes to staying healthy, I don't have a lot of faith that he's going to. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do, because I don't want to see one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen out this side of Bo Jackson not be able to play his career for a long period of time. But I do lean on the side that he's probably not going to have a long career in the NBA.
Yeah, I seen this meme or this stat board meme that came out about what's her name, the homegirl that was the porn star or whatever that he was.
Mariah Mills.
Yeah, the one that got his name tattooed on her face. She has more tweets than he has NBA games. She has more tweets about him than he has NBA games played.
And I think she got her account suspended or something like that. Like Twitter basically said, you got to shut up.
Talk about toxic. This is wild. Yeah, he's self-sabotaging right now, but he's still young enough and still has some semblance of time to fix his career and change the trajectory of his career, because right now it's looking pretty grim. Yeah. And who knows if the Pelicans are going to hold on to him and keep do they want to keep this headache if it continues to get worse or anything else happens on top of this?
Good thing is they don't play in a big market.
Sure,
when it comes to basketball.
sure. And they're desperate. They need it, and they have a good young core there. They just got to. If he can get on that team, that's a team that can compete, man. Mm-hmm. Like that is a legitimately good young roster, and then you can put him in the mix. Like even last year, I think they're a playoff team. They are 100% a playoff team making a run. In the West, I think if he was 100% going, and the whole thing about he felt 100%, but does he feel like Zion? That shit was annoying. I can imagine what those Pelicans fans felt at that time when that statement came out. Like, what kind of statement is that? But yeah, I think he get his shit together. I think he will, because I think this is an emergency situation to where his corner, his crew, his camp is going to do everything they can to bubblegum this together and move forward and get him on the right track. Because right now, man, as far as his weight goes, his up and down, his fluctuation of his weight, the baby mama stuff, and the drama with all these girls, him simping on these girls, paying for these girls' lifestyles is just so weird. It's weirdo activity, man. He's got to get that correct, and he's a boy still. He's a young boy, and I get it. But his camp needs to help with direction. So hopefully he gets together. I think he will. He's too much of a unicorn talent not to. He's robbing the NBA, honestly, if we're all being honest. He's robbing fans and he's robbing the NBA. Granted, this is his life. He's an individual. I get that. But as far as a product of what he can bring to this league, this guy is a guy that can become a face of this league within the next 2 seasons if he really wanted to. So hopefully he gets it together just for the product of the NBA. I would love to see it. All right, so we have a question by Shaggy Shake. I am just waking up. Have you guys talked about New England making salary cap moves, salary cap room for DeAndre Hopkins with those 2 specific salary cap extensions?
We have not talked about that yet, so good morning to you, Shaggy. Thanks for tuning in, bro. We appreciate you every single time you chime in on the comment box, and just in general, we appreciate the support. We have not talked about that yet. Biggest reason why is because it's a lot like what we've talked about in private when we've had our individual conversations. I don't believe that now New England has a real chance of getting DeAndre Hopkins, and here's the reason why. It's the same thing I told you guys about the Bills when it comes to the Patriots, teams of that nature, is that these teams have been showing you all along that they're going to make other moves if they can't find DeAndre Hopkins in a very cheap format. Now, the Patriots can probably pay DeAndre Hopkins, but DeAndre Hopkins has another side of his demands, which is I want to win. DeAndre Hopkins cannot say out loud, I can win with Mac Jones, because that's not a reality. The Patriots are not a Super Bowl contender with or without DeAndre Hopkins. So he has to ask himself that question. Yeah, I might be able to make $11 million this year with the Patriots.
Sure.
Am I going to take that, and I have less than a 10% chance of winning a Super Bowl this year.
Does it sound like fun to go play with the Patriots
It
right
doesn't.
now?
I think he's got a profound respect for Belichick.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah,
They have a very good respect, reverence for each other because they both know they're great at what they do. Outside of that, it doesn't make sense for him to go there. And the whole Bill O'Brien thing, I know they've been trying to flow that under the rug. Players have ego, especially players that are individuals like wide receivers and cornerbacks and the players that play on an island.
Yeah.
When you have a coach like Bill O'Brien who was an asshole to you and then trades you off for David Johnson and a 4th-round pick, that's a big slight to you as a profound elite wide receiver. And I know they had problems. I don't want to believe that they could just say, oh, yeah, let's just dap that up. We good to go. No. I don't think that's how it goes. I think the Patriots are a team that are interested in DeAndre Hopkins more than DeAndre Hopkins is actually interested in the Patriots. Because if he was interested in going there, whether they had the cap structure or not to make it happen, I think that DeAndre Hopkins is looking at it as, if I wanted to take this offer, I would have already done it. Yes, they can open up money now to offer him more money, but money isn't the only thing that's driving DeAndre Hopkins. If he was looking for the top bidder, I think he already goes to the Patriots, and then they figure out the money at a later time and get that structure going the way that they did, and they go and give Jacoby or Devontae Parker his money. 31-year-old guy that can't create separation. In fact, the worst in the NFL.
Can't stay healthy. I think that if DeAndre Hopkins was going to go to the Titans or if he was going to go to the Patriots, we would have saw this happen a week ago, 2 weeks ago. There's a reason he's mulling all this over still, Trevor. Yeah. It's because the team that he wants to go to still hasn't made the cap room yet to get him in. And once that happens, you're going to see DeAndre Hopkins sign with the Chiefs. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, I don't have much more to add there, man. I think we are both in unison and both in agreement here that the Patriots just doesn't seem like a situation that works for him. I mean, money-wise, sure, if he wants to go grab the bag, it makes sense. But, I mean, he wants to come have fun and play with a coach and a quarterback that, thrive offensively and would absolutely go nuts with him in this rotation of receivers in this room. I'm not going to continue to beat a dead horse. I think we know where we're at with that. So shout out to you, Shaggy Shane. Thank you for the question, man. Thank you for interacting with us, man. I appreciate it. Good morning to you as well.
We appreciate everybody that joined in the chat last week, this week. Ruben, man, we appreciate you. I don't know if he's a newcomer or not, but we appreciate him being a part of this. Tell your friends, guys. Let everybody know about the chat. We do this every single week now. We want to be as interactive as possible. Any question, any take, anything you guys have when it comes to the world of sports, man, let us know what you guys got. Hit us up on our YouTube channel in the comment box. Let us know what you guys want to talk about, and we will go in that direction as long as we possibly can. But we need to get to our final order of business today, Trevor. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are not so friendly or so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding the L in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week, my man?
So I'm gonna go ahead and keep it in on the Patriots and in the football world for now for this L here. Jonathan Jones, I believe is his name, the defensive player for the Patriots.
Yeah.
As we all know, we've been seeing there's a lot of other news that have kind of brushed this stuff under the rug, but there's been numerous players being cut. A couple players from the Colts being cut, and players have been in a lot of trouble, season-long suspensions going around for gambling, for sports gambling on the NFL and their own individual games. And so on and so forth, which is, look, it's righteous. It's a righteous thing for the NFL to do. They're in the right to do so. Even the Calvin Ridley stuff, which his situation was different because he wasn't even betting on his games. He was betting on other things, and he was already, Either way, I just want to read you the comment from Jonathan Jones from the Patriots, what he said. He came out, he had a tweet, I guess. It said, I understand rules are rules, but I can risk my life so that my team wins, but I can't risk 1K on my team winning. That is a tone-deaf tweet. That is a tweet that is obviously based out of emotion and not. He didn't give it much thought before spewing that out into the interwebs, because this is a business. You betting on your game, you betting on your team to win, putting money on it, can 100% affect your. If you say you wanted to throw a game, take plays off, you can absolutely affect the game with you in it. And you betting on the game that you're in is 100% illegal and it lacks integrity. It's the NFL has to keep intact the integrity of the game. This is no different. This is insider trading.
Yep.
This is no different than politicians that have an insight on what trades are going to blow up or what stocks are going to blow up, what stocks are going to dip. or even people that work for big corporations that know their stocks are going to blow up or going to dip, or they know this they just bought is going to blow up. Buy other stocks now. Telling the people that they love, or just taking that insider trade information and buying all the stock for this company that's going to blow up, and then become billionaires because of it. That's illegal, right? You can't be giving that information out. You can't use that as insider trading. That is illegal, and it's no different than what this is. You're leveraging something you can control. You're leveraging knowledge that is not supposed to be told, or things that are not supposed to be out there in order for your gain. Monetary gain too, which is just strange. I mean, you're making millions already as an NFL player. Why risk the integrity of yourself and the game itself to do that just for monetary gain? It doesn't make much sense. So for that, I just don't understand why you would come out and say you're comparing you risking your body from a career that you chose to diminishing the integrity of the game itself by you putting a wager on your team's performance to make some money on the side. The fact that you don't understand the difference there is a little silly to me. So for that, Jonathan Jones, do me a solid favor, buddy, and hold this L.
Before I give out, I have a W and an L that I want to give out. Before I do that, though, I do want to give a shout out so Trevor and I, we consider ourselves content creators, content providers, and we've been doing this for a long time. The Spoken's been around for going on 13 years this December. So we safe to say have been putting out a lot of content. We love and we appreciate and we respect and admire everybody else that puts themselves out there that wants to do the same thing, whether it's Chiefs related, any other content you want to do, makeup tutorials, whatever you're into, we love seeing people go after it. It's a passion of ours, and if it's a passion of yours, then we respect the hell out of it. I had a kid DM me this week, 13-year-old kid by the name of Bryce. He DM'd me on Twitter this week, and he sent me a link to his YouTube channel, and he sent me a comment that said, "I'm Bryce, and I'm 13 years old, and I was wondering if you could subscribe to my YouTube and give me a shout-out. Go Chiefs." So, obviously there's nothing to that really from most people's perspective. Like, oh, that's nice or whatever. But you know what? It blessed me because Bryce is a young kid and I went and looked at his YouTube channel, and yes, I did subscribe to his YouTube channel. This kid is passionate. His Twitter handle is Bryce66718153. Maybe Bryce will tighten up that handle a little bit, but that is his Twitter handle. I wanted to give a shout out today on our show to young Bryce, the little 13-year-old dude who's a Chiefs fan. He has his own show out there. It's Arrowhead News and Rumors Report on YouTube. I've watched some of his videos.
Tell him to comment his links in our comments on the YouTube on our channel on this video, so everyone can click on it and go follow it.
So yeah, Bryce, when you're watching this, and I'll send you this link, my man, hit us up on the chat. Start chiming in on our chats, man. Let us know what you got thinking, what you got cooking, because I've watched some of your videos. You got a good thing going, buddy, and I just wanted to facilitate and be a man of what I did. I didn't reply to him on here, but I'm replying to it here, and I'm letting you know, man, that we're big fans of what you do. Keep doing it. Keep going, man. Keep being great, and follow that passion to as far as you can, man. We will hit you up on Twitter as well, give you a follow, and I just wanted to give him a shout out like he asked, and hopefully everybody will go out there and we'll give him a follow and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well, because I think it's great, man, when we see young people, young people do what they do, man, and I think it's awesome. That I'm proud of you, Bryce. I don't even know you, but I'm proud of you, man. I want to give out a W to a guy that I have nothing but profound respect for. He's been in the business for over 40 years, and it is Ernie Johnson. Anybody watches NBA on TNT, they know that obviously you have your big celebrities, you have your Shaq and the big personalities of him and Chuck, Charles Barkley, and Kenny the Jet Smith. These guys are the legends. But Ernie Johnson is the glue that keeps it all together. We all know that Ernie is this just beautiful human being, man. Yep. This vibrant, well thought out, just thoughtful human being. Ernie Johnson's a sweet older man that's been doing this for so long now. I don't know sports commentating in the sports analyst work, anything like that without Ernie Johnson in it. Yeah. Basketball, baseball, whatever he's been a part of, he's been a part of it, and he's been great at everything he does. This is a great moment during the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce versus Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, the Drive charity event that they did this last week in Las Vegas at the golf tournament when you have Chuck. I think his name is Ellinger. I forget that he's a like a British expert in golf, and then you had EJ on the other side. In the middle of the broadcast, this happened, and it's one of the most candid moments and a beautiful moment, and I want you guys to hear it.
Guys, can I say something, Ernie?
I think you already are.
Okay. This is big. This is big. I want to be the first. I'm the only person up here knows this. I want to be the first person. It's an honor and a privilege to congratulate Ernie Johnson going into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Chuckster, what are you talking about?
They told me, and they said, would you do this? I said, be an honor. It's an honor and a privilege to tell you, Ernie Johnson, congratulations, brother.
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome. Thank you so much. And you know what? I'm taking the rest of the day off. Thank you, guys. And whoever is responsible for that, whoever votes on that, I am humbled beyond words. So thank you so much. Means the world to me. I've been at this for 34 years at the same place. Been over 40 years in broadcasting, and I'm stunned. So thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. And thank you, guys. Hey, Underdog, what a cool day, huh? Thanks, man.
Yeah, that really touched me because, like I said, I've been a big EJ fan for a long time. Because
much deserved, man.
Yeah, when you do shows like this, when we do shows of any magnitude, you always want to look at the greats and emulate, take notes, take a little bit of their style, or take a little bit of how they go about their work ethic, and like I said, apply that to what you do. And EJ has been one of those guys consistently for me that has been that just such a gracious, humble human being that just loves what he does. And if I could be half of what EJ is as a person, let alone a broadcaster, man, then I know that I've achieved some great things in this life. And I just wanted to say and commend him on that, because that was just nothing, like Trevor said, easily deserved. One of the greatest at what he does ever. And it goes without saying that we're happy for EJ, man. Ernie Johnson getting that award. It's been long overdue. Long overdue. L also is going to be to somebody that, or to a group of people. I love the people that Trevor that say like they don't care, but they keep talking about it. Or that I forgot about you altogether. Then why are you talking about me? If anybody missed it this last week, we saw Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney had his ring on and did the middle finger, and he said it's to the Giants. Well, we had a podcast by the name of Talking Giants that had some thoughts on it, and I want to play their little cute transcript about the reaction to Kadarius Toney flipping them off with the Chiefs' middle finger.
What did you think of Kadarius Toney flicking off all of New York? I did our picture of me flicking the camera off to...
I know somebody did the hottie one.
If he wants to do that, I don't mind. But here's what frustrates me is like, well, he got a Super Bowl ring. It's like, okay, yeah, but like...
Well, congratulations on your participation.
Yeah, so did the two other guys on the team. Like it's great you went to the Chiefs and won a Super Bowl with the best quarterback in the NFL.
It's funny because like the reaction is like, oh man, there's this beef going on. It's like, not really. I like keep forgetting about him at this
point. If he could stay healthy, he could give us the biggest middle finger ever. Like he has all the ability, but he
do something first. Showing up on a team that was already going to the Super Bowl is not impressive to me.
I get frustrated by people thinking that the Giants really lost out.
Yeah,
on something.
that's the part.
No, exactly.
I agree 100%. That's the
they shed weight. They shed weight. They got better.
Yeah, him flicking us off does not bother me at all. But it was like the reaction, like, "Oh, wow, he did get Super Bowl." It's like, well, okay, like, all right, well, congrats, dude. Yeah, we traded him to the Chiefs.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard three grown men cry more on a recording than that. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard more sadness exude out of three grown men than in that minute of audio. These guys are really, really sad because they first of all, they're lying to themselves when they said that they almost forget about him until he does this. That's not true whatsoever. Yeah. You're sitting here saying that your team got better without him when your offense actually got dramatically worse without him. And third of all, you're saying that congratulations on the participation trophy. I don't know if anybody saw it, but Kadarius Toney not only scored a touchdown in that game against the Eagles, he had the longest punt return in the history of the Super Bowl.
And he scored in his first game with us.
That's not a participation trophy, jackass. That man played his role. I might sit here and talk about how DeAndre Hopkins needs to be on this team because I don't feel like guys like Kadarius Toney is ready to take on the wide receiver one role. But you know what? One thing I will not mistakenly say about Kadarius Toney is whether that guy's got the skill set to do it or not. Has he been banged up? Yep. He's missed plenty of games in his career. He's missed 15 in 2 seasons. But you're going to really sit here and pretend as if this guy got a participation trophy with a team that was already on their way to the Super Bowl when this guy was an absolute difference maker when he's played, playoffs or not? regular season or not, Kadarius Toney fit this offense better than he could have ever fit the Giants offense, and that's not our problem. That's not Kadarius Toney's problem. He won a Super Bowl because he became an actual acquisition to a team that was Super Bowl worthy. That was not what he was in New York, because not to even be close to the Super Bowl. The only reason the Giants even had a playoff win this year is because they played the worst defense in the playoffs in the Minnesota Vikings against a guy in Kirk Cousins that doesn't know how to win in the freaking postseason. So spare me your sadness. Here's a tissue, you bitch. Our guy Kadarius Toney is going to continue to win Super Bowls here in Kansas City while you continue to forget him so much and he gets his participation trophies. In the meantime, I got an award for you guys. Do me a solid and hold this L. Talking Giants, feel free to jump on the show whenever you guys feel like it. We can talk about Super Bowl winning champion Kadarius Toney and how he's going to continue to help the Chiefs win more Super Bowls. It's been a fun show. It's a shorter show. I know we usually like to go about 2 hours or so. It's a 4th of July weekend. Trevor and I have some family arrangements to get to today, and we're really looking forward to those. But man, more than anything, we had to make sure we had a show, even if it's slow, even if we're a complete stop. I mean, shit, during COVID, Trevor and I were doing weekly shows. So obviously you know that even if there's no news whatsoever, we're going to come in here, we're going to pump content, we're going to get you guys involved. We want you guys to be as interactive as possible. So once again, as I told you from the top, I'll tell you from the bottom, hit us up on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification button so every time we go live, you will see it and you will be a part of it. And more importantly, get on that comment bar. Hit the comment bar. Let us know what you guys are thinking, whether it's a take, a question, both, whatever it is. Let us know what you guys are thinking about. And even during the week, when this show's long done, it's been a few days and we're chopping up little videos and posting those out there, give us your thoughts. Give us your takes, man. We appreciate all of them. We accept all these comments you guys have for us, all the takes, and we appreciate the support in the meantime. So for Trevor Twidwell, for Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of us, I'm Lance Twidwell, the Spoken Podcast. Episode 223 is done, finished, and finito. And so we're back here in 1 week's time for episode 224 to talk about the jam-filled, whatever other team wants to talk shit on the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. We out of this bitch.
Later.